with winds hitting an estimated 160 miles per hour. Hurricane Michael blasted Florida's panhandle. The water and waves crashed into buildings. The storm surge was 14 feet above the normal level. By the time the storm passed, ships had flipped over. Buildings were destroyed.
It's like 100 freight trains coming through.
It was only the fourth time in recorded history that a Category 5 storm hit the United States. Mexico Beach was ground zero.
It's been the worst nightmare I've ever been through in my life.
More than 90% of the buildings in the city were damaged or destroyed.
That's a sad way to know Mexico Beach because it's a beautiful town, beautiful people.
It's a strong reminder of the terror and destruction that can come from one hurricane. This is a WPTV News Channel 5 special, Surviving the Storm.
Hurricane season is now underway, and one of the lessons learned from Michael is the importance of being prepared. During the next half hour, we're going to help you get ready for this year's storm season. NOAA's Climate Prediction Center is forecasting 9 to 15 named storms in the Atlantic this year, with 4 to 8 that could be hurricanes. NOAA's forecast predicts 2 to 4 major hurricanes. That means Category 3, 4, or 5. It puts us on tap to what's considered to be a normal hurricane season. However, forecasters caution normal means a lot of activity and potential dangers, including a storm surge.
83% of the fatalities in the last 3 years, inland flooding, over half in cars. We got to continue the conversation about the dangers of water. You know, one of the visions that I definitely have at the Hurricane Center is when people close their eyes and think of a hurricane, they're really seeing the water instead of the wind, because that's what's hurting people.
Graham says the Hurricane Center is going to try to extend the watch to 72 hours to help with evacuation decisions. Hurricane Michael formed fast, hit relatively late in the hurricane season, and it warns us why we can't become complacent. In Florida alone, it led to the deaths of more than 40 people and caused billions of dollars in damage. News Channel 5's Megan McRoberts was there when it hit and looks back at what it was like to go through it.
When the threat of Hurricane Michael's strong winds and rising storm surge became a threat to Florida's panhandle, we hit the road just days before Michael made landfall.
The landfall in the panhandle as a major hurricane.
Anticipating at most a Cat 3 storm. People living in seaside towns like Apalachicola were nearly scrambling.
Only a couple days to get ready for something that we haven't been used to since really 2005.
The storm gained strength faster than they expected.
Many people seemed to be caught off guard,
and signs of the impending storm showed up days before landfall.
All eyes in these communities right now are on these water levels that are already slowly rising.
The night before the storm, already very gusty and humid conditions.
Once the wind speeds again continue to increase, and even over here you see where businesses have boarded up and they've put down sandbags.
Before calling it a night, our meteorologists warning the storm was gaining more strength.
So it's picking up its forward speed, Category 4.
We questioned evacuating ourselves, but we stayed.
I want to give you guys a look off from the hotel where we are staying.
Wednesday morning, the day of the storm, was an early wake-up call. Storm surge flooding our nearby street by the early morning, still hours before landfall.
Actually just lost our power about 10-15 minutes ago. As you can see behind me, the winds are kicking up.
Floodwaters covered the streets and parking lots.
I'd guess at least a couple feet of water here.
Local reports estimated we went through sustained winds around 100 miles per hour by early to mid-afternoon in Apalachicola.
We're without power. We've lost our cell phone service from multiple providers.
But that evening, waters receded quickly enough to drive around and take in the damage.
The real story here is the flooding that it brought to this area.
Trees down, power poles snapped.
So here you're looking at a dock that collapsed into the river. You've had that extreme wind damage, so massive trees being snapped in half.
But daylight told a different story, especially further west along the panhandle toward Mexico Beach, the worst of the destruction.
Just like 100 freight trains coming through.
We were only able to get to this area because of a government escort.
Concrete buildings had crumbled. Water pushed homes off their foundations. We learned firsthand how a storm can change course, gain strength, catching even the most prepared off guard. But we also learned how they all got through this. Whether it was a restaurant giving out free warm dinners,
3,000 gallons worth of gasoline on site,
even sharing gasoline. It was everyone helping each other weather a storm we'd all hope to see only once in a lifetime. Megan McRoberts, WPTV News Channel 5.
Amazing images. You probably know it all too well. Power outages are one of the biggest challenges during hurricanes. Last year, Hurricane Michael knocked out power to around 400,000 homes and businesses in Florida alone. It was also a major issue during Hurricane Irma in 2017. The storm caused major outages on the power grid. Millions across the state were without power. New technology is being rolled out to help restore power faster and keep electricity flowing even during severe weather. Florida Power and Light has added automated transformer switches to its smart grid system. The company says the switches work like the breakers in your house, except that they can re-energize automatically. FPL is also in the process of burying some of the power lines that are currently above ground. They say it will help make the lines safer and more reliable during a storm. The efforts are part of a 3-year pilot program the power company is spearheading in certain neighborhoods.
We've identified those areas that are prone to outages, prone to vegetation-related outages, and were out for extended periods during Hurricanes Irma and Matthew, and we've targeted them to go underground.
This could be the future of more power lines in Florida. Thinking ahead and being prepared is key as hurricane season hits. Here's a look at what you need to cross off your checklist. From Andrew to Irma to Michael, Floridians know hurricanes come with the territory.
It's not a question of if we're going to be impacted by a storm. It's simply a question of when and where.
The key to surviving the storm, being prepared.
Have a plan, build a kit, be informed, and get involved are the 4 important points that you need to remember.
Experts say your hurricane kit should include at least 3 to 7 days worth of non-perishable food, water, and medicine for your entire family. Also on the list, important personal documents and cash, along with blankets, clothes, and a first aid kit. Flashlights and batteries will help you through power outages. Plus, you'll want a battery-powered radio to keep you informed. Have your kit ready so you don't have to race the clock and wind up facing empty shelves. It's a scenario we've seen time and time again.
I think one of the most frustrating things that I see is that people wait to the last minute. Now is the time to prepare for hurricanes.
Of course, it's not just about having the supplies, but knowing when and where to evacuate. On the Treasure Coast, Martin County is rolling out a new system called Alert Martin. The goal, to get life-saving information to you faster.
This program will give us the ability to contact our residents through text, phone call, email, however they want to be notified, wherever they want to be notified, we can reach out to them.
Emergency Management says they've partnered with the Sheriff's Office, local utilities, and other municipal police departments. All you have to do is sign up. Welcome back. No one will forget the tragedy Hurricane Irma caused at a nursing home facility in Broward County. The storm knocked out the air conditioning at the rehabilitation center of Hollywood Hills Nursing Home. 12 people died in the sweltering heat. Investigators discovered the nursing home staff put fans in the building, but it wasn't enough to cool down the facility. It resulted in a change in the rules for the way nursing homes and assisted living facilities operate. They are now required to have generators to power air conditioning systems. However, according to state records, many nursing home facilities are still not prepared. You might be one of the many people who rely on generators when the power goes out during a hurricane, but it's not as simple as starting it and letting it run. Storm Team 5 meteorologist Glenn Glazer walks you through the steps to using that generator safely.
So you have a portable generator, and that's great. But before a storm even comes close to the United States, you should know how to set up that generator and where.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this today. I appreciate it.
We asked for a little help today from the fire safety specialist at Palm Beach County Fire Rescue.
The generator must be installed on a level surface.
Level surface.
If not, the generator could actually, especially on this driveway, if it would not be on a level surface, as the generator vibrates, you could actually just walk right on down the driveway.
And check the distance from the house.
The generator must be at least 20 feet from the house.
Next, make sure you read the manufacturer specifications.
Then you can proceed by fueling the generator and checking the oil level.
And this part is really important. Make sure you are using an extension cord that is durable and for outdoor use. Also, make sure the cord is not damaged in any way, and then run it into the house to the appliance you want to use.
You don't want that door actually damaging the cord. So we're going to use, very simple, just use a piece of wood or a shoe or something just to protect it. Exactly, and that's fine, just to protect it, so as you close the door, you do not damage the water.
Now, just follow the steps.
All of your generators would have all the steps that you need to do prior to starting the generator.
Once the generator is up to speed, then you can plug in your cord. And if you run out of gas, don't refill right away.
You should wait at least 15 to 20 minutes. Let the generator cool down prior to refueling.
And finally, keep any windows near your running generator closed and get a carbon monoxide detector.
We want people to have these inside their home no matter what, because it's a huge safety measure. This saves lives. But we really, really want you to have it if you've got a generator, because you've got a source for carbon monoxide.
I'm Storm Team 5 meteorologist Glenn Glazer, WPTV News Channel 5.
And you can stock up on hurricane supplies like generators without paying sales tax during disaster preparedness sales tax holiday. This year it runs from May 31st through June 6th. You can get everything from batteries to coolers, tarps, and other disaster supplies without paying state and local sales taxes. To check out the list of tax-exempt items, head to the As Seen on 5 section of WPTV.com. Boating is a huge part of life in Florida, and that means preparing your boats for hurricane season. That's key, so it doesn't end up like this. You may remember the so-called boating graveyard after Hurricane Irma. Dozens of boats in Southwest Florida were displaced. They dumped in an empty lot in Punta Gorda. They sat there for months. To keep your boat safe, you need to have a hurricane plan for your vessel. Your best bet is to get your boat out of the water, but that's not always possible. State Farm Insurance says to talk to the operator at your marina before storm, secure important documents in a safe location on dry land. And if you have to keep your boat in the water, State Farm says to anchor your boat with at least 2 anchors and position its bow in the direction of the prevailing winds. To counteract the storm surge, make sure the anchor lines are 10 times the depth of the water at the mooring location. If you're storing your boat on dry land, it's best to move as far inland as possible. Whether it's before, during, and after a hurricane, something is bound to go wrong. Storm Team 5 meteorologist Katya Hall shows us the common mistakes you want to avoid.
If you think you have things all figured out, think again. Safety officials say they come across a lot of people making the same mistakes when it comes to hurricanes. It often starts with homeowners insurance.
The problem is that especially if you live in a low-lying area that's prone to flooding, homeowners insurance does not cause water intrusion that's based on flooding.
Homeowners insurance only covers wind-driven rain, not rising water like storm surge during a hurricane.
You should really get flood insurance, whether or not you live in a flood zone.
Another mistake, taping your windows while preparing for a hurricane.
The problem with tape is that what it does is it creates larger shards of glass.
When it comes to evacuating, the Red Cross and emergency management say
people evacuate unnecessarily, or they don't evacuate.
Often people that don't need to evacuate.
Evacuating when you don't have to can cause more problems for those needing to evacuate.
The roads get clogged up. It's a safety hazard, and it's really unnecessary. It puts people at risk of getting trapped in their cars.
And don't worry about traveling across the country when evacuating.
Often you can find family or friends that are just a few miles away, 10 miles. You don't have to travel 200 miles.
Finally, most think when the storm moves out, it's all over, but
the worst is not always over when the hurricane winds leave.
Emergency management says there are just as many, if not more, fatalities after a storm than there are during a storm.
What happens after the storm is all of the other injuries and accidents as a result of trying to recover.
Reporting for Storm Team 5, I'm meteorologist Katya Hall.
When a hurricane approaches and you happen to be in the path, it's only natural to get anxious and start to worry about your safety and the safety of your loved ones. Storm Team 5 meteorologist Steve Villanueva breaks down what to do to keep your pets safe.
Just as we start making preparations now to get our family through a storm, we need to start preparing for our pets as well. Veterinarian Valerie Bullock says you need to always be ready.
What we want to do through the hurricane process is, we as owners, we have the feet on the ground. It is our job to prepare for our pet, not when we see the weather forecast has a hurricane coming in, but now.
The Red Cross also says don't delay.
People wait. They're like, oh, let's see what happens. Let's, ride it out. Let's wait to the very last possible moment. And that's when, if you haven't prepared for your pet, you panic and probably, leave them at home.
It's very important that you don't panic, that you do prepare, and that does include having all the supplies your pet will need for anywhere from 3 to 7 days.
So what should you have in your pet's disaster kit? It is recommended that you have several days of food and water. Have your pet's medicine, heartworm pills, and medical records. Make sure you have proof of rabies shots. Have a photo of you and your pets as well. Keep them all in a waterproof container. Also, know where you are headed to beforehand.
Places where you might need to evacuate to that are pet friendly. It should be the number and the address. You should also have veterinarians in the region.
If you happen to get separated from your pet, make sure they have a collar on with your information. Even more important, make sure they are microchipped.
If your pet becomes separated from you, loses its collar, or a wand will be waved over your pet, a microchip scanner, and your pet will be able to be reunited with you.
The ultimate goal is to have a plan. You never know when you will need to evacuate. It's very important your pets are safe too.
As pet owners, we're always going to want to have our pet with us at all times during emergency conditions.
Welcome back. After Hurricane Michael swept through the Florida Panhandle, thousands of homes were destroyed. However, one home in Mexico Beach was left practically untouched by the storm. The owners painstakingly built their dream house to withstand big storms. Right here in South Florida, researchers at Florida International University are putting construction designs to the test to see if they can survive hurricane-force winds. Storm Team 5's James Whelan went to Miami to check out the facility that shows just how strong those winds can be and what's being done to fight them.
Behind these doors is a front row seat to the power of a hurricane, appropriately named the Wall of Wind.
You see examples of previous tests.
Eric Salno with the Extreme Events Institute at FIU says this research facility is designed to create test winds up to 160 miles per hour, equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane. The mission?
How can we enhance the building codes? How can we build better, build stronger, so when the next storm comes, it'll withstand a hurricane-force wind?
Without Mother Nature's help, it takes a lot to match the strength of a Category 5 storm. Each one of these fans, as you can see, is taller than me. 700 horsepower, and it takes 637 leaf blowers to output the same amount of air. They have 6 across stacked 2 high for a total of 12 that can push 160 mile per hour winds out the other end. That wind is applied to test items like shingles, tiles, and windows. From the roof to the foundation, this type of testing has changed homes in Florida.
We did help create here the ring shank nail. Nails used to be smooth. You put them in a rooftop and they easily pull out. But if you have the grooves, the rings around it, now it's more like a screw. It doesn't pull out. Little designs like that.
The research goes beyond buildings. Traffic signals and cables also face the wall of wind. Tests at the facility come in all sizes and scales.
This structure here, which was to represent a tall building, actually in downtown Dallas, but you see all the wires inside. Each wire is a data point. So each wire is measuring the force of the wind on that part of the structure. So you can really get a good three-dimensional view of what's happening into that building.
Salna says the research and stronger building codes are paying off.
We have learned how to build better. Innovative design and wind engineering that we show here at the Wall of Wind does work.
But the work at the Wall of Wind is far from over.
We need to move in this direction. We have to stop this spin cycle of build, damage, rebuild. Build, damage, rebuild. We cannot rebuild to the past, to the way we have been. We must rebuild to the future in using these innovative mitigation designs.
Reporting from Miami, WPTV Storm Team 5 meteorologist James Whelan.
And the research continues. Be sure to download the WPTV News app to help you navigate this hurricane season. You can also use the interactive radar and get alerts sent right to your phone. Our app is free to download. Storm Team 5 meteorologists, our entire team here, will be here to cover this hurricane season. We'll track any storms that form and we'll make sure you're prepared. Thank you for joining us for this WPTV special, Surviving the Storm. We hope you have a safe and quiet hurricane season.